And May, that comes from just knowing that you're enough too.
Yeah.
So many times, we go through all these things in life and we forget how badass we are, right? And we forget that we're enough. Like, yeah, I'm enough. I am beautiful. I'm enough. I'm ready for love. I'm ready to be loved. So, and we forget that. And sometimes we put that energy out too. And people feel that. They feel that. So it's about bringing forth the right energy too.
Hello. Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. Today, I have Mike Lee as my guest. Mike Lee is a keynote speaker, couples coach, and a wedding officiant. As a speaker, he shares his story of losing his vision at age 24 and overcoming adversity to inspire others to reach their full potential. As a couples coach and wedding officiant, he helps his clients to experience the very best relationship they've ever had by learning the skills necessary to create lasting connection. Mike Lee, how are you?
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. I'm happy to be here.
I know that when I read your bio and talk about how you lost your vision at age 24, people are probably wondering if they're watching this on YouTube, like, wait, can he see May? Like, what is going on? Like, can you talk a little bit about your life and your vision and all those questions that I or the audience might have?
Absolutely. But I cannot see you, May, but I feel your energy and you look absolutely beautiful to me. I love it. I love it. I love it. But so actually my story is two-part. I was shot in the face at the age of 12. A friend was playing with the gun. With a gun he didn't know was still bullets left in the revolver, so he accidentally shot me in the face. Which obviously changed the trajectory of my life at that time. So from 12 to 24, I was fine. Basically, I had one eye. Went to high school like everybody else, played basketball in high school, drove a car, did everything everybody else did. Basically, what I didn't understand at that time, or I wasn't introduced to, that I was actually considered to be visually impaired at the time. Didn't find that out till later on in life. So after I went to college, I went to Hampton University. So shout out to the Hampton Pirates in Hampton, Virginia. After going to Hampton University, I became an educator. Taught ninth grade literature and fourth and fifth grade special education. So one day I was coming back from a wedding in Philadelphia. I had an excruciating headache. I would always have headaches because of my gunshot wound when I was younger, and I was on my way back home to the house at the time. And I remember I had an important meeting the next day with my principal at school. So I laid down, woke up the next morning, still had the same headache. Remember going to school the next day, and I'm a little older, so the kids were still writing with chalk on the board. So my kids were writing on the chalkboard, and I couldn't see some of the math problems, and I knew something was going on. And I told my teacher's assistant at the time, went to the optometrist that evening just to get my eyes checked. And she said she saw something in the back of my eye, but she wanted me to go to an ophthalmologist. Made my way to the ophthalmologist. Well, actually, I didn't make my way to the ophthalmologist because it was so late that evening. So I can remember driving home and not being able to see the difference in between the lights, the green, the red, the green, and the yellow. I just thought I was exhausted. I thought I was tired. I was doing a lot in my life at that time. Laid down that night. Next morning, I woke up, I was totally in the dark. We found out I have a condition called optic neuritis, which is inflammation of the nerve behind your eye. And the interesting thing about this condition is they say it typically comes in middle-aged Caucasian women. At the time, I was 24 years old, so we thought that was crazy, right? And for a year, I was in the dark, and then my vision came back to where it is now. Now I see shades of light out of my left eye, out of basically a pinhole. My peripheral vision is very limited, and what I see is very extremely dark, like black and grays pretty much. And so I'm unable to read any printed material, so I had to learn to read Braille. I had to go to a school for the blind for many years and learn how to basically live again. So yeah, in a short clip, that's where I am.
When that one day that you just had a headache, are you saying that your vision went from one eye, you had good vision in one eye, and then overnight almost you lost your vision like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the interesting thing about it, May, is so many people thought it was, I guess, sympathetic. They thought basically because of me losing the vision out of my right eye, I lost the vision out of my left eye. That wasn't the case. It was two unrelated situations.
Oh.
So so I went to bed with 20/20 vision. I woke up the next morning. I was totally what they consider to be in the dark.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah. So I was in the dark for 1 year, then my vision came back where it is now.
So now, how did you become a couples coach and how did that start? From your couples coaching, you went to becoming a keynote speaker and then wedding officiant. Is
So
that how it
actually, I
happened?
became a keynote speaker first. Became a
Okay.
motivational speaker first, and that was just a natural progression of where I was. Because I was an educator, I kind of had that within my spirit, right? So just naturally wanting to teach and wanting to talk to people. So I found that going to my first school for the blind, people wanted to hear my story. So I would go to different places and talk about my story just to kind of help people through their pain. And one of the things I always talked about was power over pain, right? So I would discuss this with different people, and I found to a certain point I can monetize that. So that's what I started to do. And from that, I moved to Baltimore to go to a school for the blind. There's a national federation for the blind in Baltimore, so I went to a program there, and that's when I met my beautiful wife. She picked me up one day in the grocery store. I was actually coming from a speaking engagement, and because of that, my wife is a matchmaker. She owns a matchmaking company, and that's how I was introduced to the matchmaking world. So recently, years ago, I became a certified matchmaker, and from that, started to work with couples and do the couples coaching.
So you were a speaker at an event, went to the grocery store, all dressed
Hmm.
up, snazzy the way you normally are dressed.
Yeah, yeah,
And she was like, I'm going to pick him up at the grocery store. And she totally just hit
absolutely.
on you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And she was so nervous. She was so nervous. I remember her coming up to me and she said, excuse me, excuse me. So I was in a grocery store, so I can't shop by myself. So I had a shopping assistant with me. We were actually in the fruit section looking for bananas and oranges, right? And so she comes up and she says, excuse me, excuse me. And the first thing she said, are you single? I said, well, the question is, are you single? She said, no. Yeah. I was trying to be as cool as possible. I said, question is, are you single? She said, yes. She said, I just had to come speak to you. And the second thing she asked me was, can you see me? To this day, we laugh about that. I was like, no, I can't see you. Not really. And she was like, well, I look a mess. I just came from the gym. So we talked a little bit. We exchanged numbers, and that was, yeah, that was it. Yeah.
She was not in the audience when you were a speaker, right? She just
No, she
happened
wasn't.
to see you at the grocery store.
She just
Okay.
happened to see me at the grocery store. We're at the right place, right time. That was
Okay.
over 14 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that story when I first met you about 10 months ago. And
Hmm.
I remember coming up to your table when you were sitting there at the conference, at the matchmaking conference. I didn't know that you couldn't see me. I just went up
Right.
to you to talk to you. I think you had sunglasses on. I
Hmm.
just thought, well, he just thinks he's too cool, so he needs sunglasses.
No, you did. No, you did. Yeah.
And that's what I thought. I was like, "Okay, he's too cool, but
Yeah.
I'll just start talking to him." And I did not know that you couldn't see me. I just didn't wasn't aware of it. I was just talking to you and then,
Hmm.
it was so weird, but thinking back, it's like I too sensed your energy and came up to you and started talking to you. So you just attract people in your life. Do you feel that, Mike? Like people just
I,
are drawn to you whether you know it or not.
yeah, I do. And,
Yeah.
and 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 I often talk to people about that. And I don't really, I'm not in tune to it, so I don't understand in some certain situations what exactly is happening. But in other situations, I know exactly what it is. Once
Yeah.
people find out that I'm visually impaired or I'm blind, they it's strange, man. They give me their heart. A lot
Yeah.
of times I've been places and people have just come up to me and told me things they wouldn't tell anybody else. And they say, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I've never told anybody this. And a part of me feels as if they feel as if that I'm not going to judge them, or maybe I won't see them again, right? So that if I do, I
Literally.
can't figure out. Yeah, so they kind of tell me things. It's almost like being in confession, right?
How did being blind change how you dated and what you looked for in a partner?
For 24 years of my life, I've been in the sighted world. So before I could even begin to date, I had to work on myself, right? um, a part of me lost some of my confidence, right? Because as a man, you like to, for me, I can only speak for myself. As a man, when I went on a date as a young man, I was always the guy that picked the young lady up. I'd want to, open the car door for her. Try to be a gentleman the best way I knew how. Take care of the bill. Do certain things that I thought that I deemed important in relationships. And a lot of those things were lost when I lost my vision, right? So I had to find a way to regain myself, to find a way to actually put my best foot forward when I was at times and stay at night in a hotel just to take somebody out. I still had to find a way to be an active participant in my relationships, which was difficult at first, but now it's second nature to me. I still find ways to open the door for my wife. I still find ways to go open the car door. Do simple things that you think you may think somebody who's visually impaired, the blind, couldn't do necessarily physically, right? And for me, I was already a couple weeks in, and I knew I, I I was falling in love, right? And I told him, those things don't matter at this point. It's about how she makes me feel. So just my outlook on relationships really changed. It wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. So thinking back how you were dating when you had your vision to now what you know now, what advice could you give the audience about dating?
It's not always about the physical attraction, right? And I say that, but most people when they meet somebody, it's all visual, right? Visually, but sometimes we have to move away from that, especially somebody who's actively trying to find a relationship. You have to ask yourself, whatever principles you to that point, they haven't necessarily worked for you. So you have to find change, and sometimes that change is looking within and not outward. For a lot of relationships too, right? And furthermore, if we think about how I met my wife, a lot of people don't say something to somebody because of the fear of rejection, right? Yeah, sometimes you have to step out on faith. Yeah. I find more times than not, people are allowing their past relationships to dictate the relationships they're in now. When you find somebody new, this is a new relationship, and you have to let the pain of your past go, so you can start anew. And what I also recognize within relationships or new relationships, sometimes people aren't accountable for their behaviors in their last relationship, right? As you said, you need to deal with those things and deal with those attributes that you have, so you can be the best you and represent yourself and present yourself properly in the next relationship. Because
Yeah.
it's not always about the other person. Sometimes it's about you.
Well, if you're in all these relationships and they don't work out, you are the common denominator in all these
Absolutely, man.
relationships.
Well
So,
said. It's about you. But nobody wants to deal with that, right? And those are the things that I discuss when we're doing some of the couples coaching, is about digging into who you are and making you accountable for your mistakes in your relationship, so you can be better for your next relationship.
yeah, I agree. I agree. So what else here? What qualities do you tell your clients really matter when it comes to creating a lasting connection? What are some
Trust.
qualities that has helped for your clients to recognize?
Being able to fully trust, right? And as we said before, sometimes it's difficult to trust because of the pain from your last relationship, right? So being able to get to a point where you can love again, where you can trust again, and trust in knowing that you're only going to expect the best from somebody. You're only going to expect the best out of the significant other that you're with. Commitment, right? We talked about commitment before. Understanding what real commitment is, and if you're even able or capable of committing, right? And understanding that relationships are a process. You're just not going to meet somebody and fall in love and get married next week. You can't allow the trappings of the world to dictate how you move within your relationship. And I find that a lot of times we see people getting married. We see all of our family members having kids, and we want to rush into that, and we do too much too fast.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Now, how has not being able to see impact your marriage?
For me, and I just discussed this with my wife today, there are times when I feel as if I'm not being heard or understood. And so sometimes expressions in relationships, right? Like she may be listening, she may be attentive, but I can hear her typing, or I know she's on the phone. And there's certain things that I don't necessarily get unless you articulate them to me verbally. Her beauty is about her energy and how she feels. And there are times when I tell her, just told her before I talk to you today, you look absolutely beautiful today. And she was like, I got yoga pants on and a sweater. I've been working all day, but it was something about today, like she just was radiant to me, right? And for her, she appreciates it. Because It's actually strange. I'm extroverted, and my wife is an introvert, right? So you would think I would need somebody who's actually an extrovert as well, and I'm okay with that. For me, I've learned that there's comfort in silence for her too. She knows when I need her to articulate certain things and let me know she's having a good time. Let me know that she's okay. Let me know she's all right. But there are other times when I realize that she needs that silence. There's
Yeah.
sometimes when we hang out, we're just in the same room and chilling. She's exhausted. I'm exhausted. My hands on her leg or her head's on my lap, and we're just chilling. We're at peace because there's comfort in silence too.
Enjoy the silence, like that song
Absolutely.
by
Yeah.
Depeche Mode.
Yeah, you know it.
So, what is the number one skill you think couples need to learn to have a successful marriage?
Oh, there's so many. So w- communicating the past couple of years, people all over the world, we've gone through a lot of hardships, a lot of trials and tribulations, right? And I believe faith in your relationship has gotten people through a lot of hardships. And I can only attest to the things I've been through. Um, Recently, as you know, my wife went through cardiac arrest
Mhm.
some time ago. And I firmly believe our relationship and how connected we were at the time got the whole family through that situation. And after that situation, everything grew exponentially for us, right? So I think it was faith and understanding of each other too. And I think that's important. Yeah.
So, you know how like celebrities can be together for 20 something years and then they part ways. And even I'm sure in the matchmaking world, I get new clients coming in. How do
Yeah.
we operate in a relationship where we think no matter what happens, we're going to be together, like, and just work it out or communicate or over communicate?
I think to answer that question, first we have to address why we even get married in the first place, right? And I think that's the truth. That's the issue. There's where the problem lies. I think some people get married for the wrong reasons, meaning we get married because I was told or my family the expectation of my family was to be married by a certain age, right? To also have children by a certain age. So many different pressures, societal pressures that are saying this is what life looks like for you. You go to high school, you go to college, you get your degree, you get a job, you find a husband, you get married, and you live the rest of your life together. So I think first point is understanding and choosing the right mate. And I think they shouldn't be married. So a part of me disagrees with that because I think so many people they stay in painful situations because they believe this is what I have to stay into. I have to be committed to that. And you don't necessarily have to. But the issue is you didn't make the right decision in the first place.
Do majority of the introverted people in matchmaking or as you date coach them, do those introverts normally want to meet an extrovert?
Yes, yes, and vice versa, right? Because it's about that balance, right? Sometimes when you have two people that are on the same wavelength, you would think it works, but it causes friction, right? Because in that space, you have an extrovert and an introvert. You both can learn from each other.
As an extrovert, do you prefer an extrovert or an introvert? Because you want someone to mellow you out.
For me, my wife works. Introvert works. I
Yeah.
think that's perfect for me because yeah, I've learned so much but I had to be open to learning too. I had to. There are times when we first got together. It was you go through trials and tribulations in relationships. So I had to figure those things out. But also learned a lot about myself. There are times when I just want to chill and just be alone. Because a part of me naturally I want to be a people pleaser. She taught me a long time ago. You can't serve and help everybody. You got to serve yourself before you can serve other people. And I learned that through my life.
So if there's a introvert person who's listening and they want to meet someone who's an extrovert, how do they go about finding an extroverted person?
Great question, right? So to me, it's about going out, being out, and being visible in places, and being willing to be vulnerable. Just like, but and you can't figure it out until you actually get to know somebody. You find out who you're attracted to. You find out who you're drawn to, and say something, right? Say something. Say hello. Ask them are they single, and through that you can figure out what that balance is too. Yeah,
So,
and you gotta go where introverted people go too. Library is one of them. Yeah,
right, reading groups or book
absolutely,
clubs or
absolutely,
shops, right? I feel like they go to coffee shops
absolutely.
to
Coffee
learn.
shops, perfect
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
Parks, actually, parks, coffee shops,
So
museums.
museums, you said?
Hmm.
Museums, yeah. Okay. Now, where do extroverted people hang out?
Well, I think we know the restaurants,
Bars?
club, bars, absolutely. A lot of times concerts. Well, you can find some introverted people at concerts too. Certain concerts. Yeah, places like
Sporting
that for sure.
sporting events,
Definitely sporting events. Yeah.
places where there are crowds, right? Like that's
Hmm.
something
Festivals. A lot of time we find them at certain festivals. Yeah.
festivals. Yeah,
If
right.
you live in a city that does that.
Yeah. So what is your specialty when you coach couples? Are they what age range are they normally coming to you, or what, what socioeconomic class or anything like
So
that? Is there a
actually,
mm,
great question. Actually, my age group has gotten younger too, because what's happening is sometimes I'll have a older client who may have children, and they connect me with their children, right?
mm.
So I've worked with people from all the way from 24 up until 60 years old.
So is it like a certain amount of weeks you talk to them? Like how many sessions do you
Per,
normally meet with them?
initially, I like to do at least six. I start with 6 sessions,
Okay.
6 sessions first, and then if we need to work beyond 6 sessions, we work beyond that.
Okay. And this is in person or virtual, like a Zoom call?
Lately, it's been virtual, but because of everything because of the travel between Puerto Rico and Richmond, they've been virtual. But I'd like to do face to face, but we also have to deal with COVID as well, and just making sure people are safe as well.
Yeah. Are
So
people
virtual
still
has been a
getting
way to
sick?
go.
Do you know people still getting sick from COVID or is that
I,
over?
I, I do. I do
Okay.
still know people getting sick. So
Okay.
to me, it's just simple. Just be open to love. Be open. Be available, and be vulnerable too. And your expectations, as you've heard before, may have to be in line with reality. I heard something recently, and it said, um, as far as like who we choose in our relationships, right? It said we have a type. It's not necessarily a type, but it's also a pattern. And you have to think if that pattern is not working,
Yeah,
keep doing keep doing
I
the same thing. You got to switch it up.
I totally agree. Like I have clients that come to me and they're like, this is my type, this is who I'm looking for. And I'm like, you've been looking for this person for 20, 30 years. Can we just tweak it a little bit? Can we just change
Absolutely, man.
one or two things?
Yeah.
And it really is being open-minded is really the key because did I think I was going to marry a smoker? No, I hate
Hmm.
smoking. I
Yeah.
absolutely hate smoking. So it's like just go for it. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
that can be solved if people
Yeah.
just go for it.
Absolutely. And here's the thing too. A lot of times we're searching for love, and we forget to be loved. We forget to be in the moment. We forget to do the work within, right? And that's a part of it too, man. Like having those hard conversations, like, what do you need to do?
Yeah.
Or what can I assist you in doing and making yourself the best person you can probably possibly be, so you can bring the light to the situation and you can bring the love. So we no longer have to search for love. Love's going to find you,
Yeah.
but it
I
takes time to do that work.
I totally agree with people just being attracted to you with your energy, with what you're about, with what you bring the energy when you come into the room or walk into a grocery store. Like all that stuff plays into it, like how they carry themselves and
Hmm.
how you're attracted to them. Yeah, all those
Yeah,
things matter. Yeah,
and May, that comes from just knowing that you're enough too.
yeah,
So many times, we go through all these things in life and we forget how badass we are, right? And we forget that we're enough. Like, yeah, I'm enough.
yeah,
I am beautiful. I'm enough. I'm
yeah.
ready for love. I'm ready to be loved. So, and we forget that, and sometimes we we put that energy out too, and people feel that. They feel that. So it's about bringing forth the right energy too.
I love it. I love it. Well, Mike Lee, thank you so much for joining me today on the Asian Dating Podcast. And Men, if you're out there, sign up and meet a lovely Asian woman. Please go to twoasianmatchmakers.com. Ladies, please register with me, because if I can't find you, I can't set you up. So I'm always looking for lovely Asian women. And for the listeners out there, if you need help, Mike Lee is available to help you. I will include all of his information in the show notes. Thank you so much for allowing me to ask you all those funny, weird, hard questions, Mike.
Yes, ma'am.
Vulnerable. And I will see you soon at the Cancun Matchmaking Conference. I know you're going to be there again this year.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see you. Looking forward to it.
That will be exciting. We will play poker again. So
I'm ready. Take your money. I'm ready.
well, thank you, Mike, for your time today. And I will see you later. Thank you.
I love you, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Peace.